the next three items are Irish or Irish. I think you might recognise the next melody as something that's more familiar than you might think. But then we'll go to one of the songs by Thomas Moore. Now Thomas Moore worked with Sir John Stevenson from 1807 to 1834, 1833, 1834, to bring out Irish melodies as a sort of counter to all the volumes of Scottish melodies that had been coming out in the 18th century. And Moore said, you know, he was very keen to bring the only talent that our English neighbours have any are liable to credit us with, which is music. And he was very keen to do this project. So he wrote the words to the melodies, the pre-existing Irish melodies. So Eveleen's Bower is one of those. And then there's Robin Adair, which is another song of great, it's of great significance in Jane Austen studies because it's the only song mentioned in any of Jane Austen's novels, and it's mentioned in Emma. And it's the Irish connection is very telling in that case. But I believe that there's a lot of debate about how genuine it really is as a work by Lady Caroline Keppel, where the melody comes from, you know, all those sort of things. And with this sort of traditional folk music, these things are very hard to pin down quite often because the very nature of this music, some of this music is that it's from an oral tradition and it's not until somebody writes it down, collects the tune, that's when it's sort of history is set in stone, and then that it's easy to ignore what happened before. Anyway, so I'll stop talking and we'll sing Lost is My Quiet, the Irish Air by Julia.
To forget
Now, Judith's going to play some variations on that air by George Kielmark, a German composer who, one of the many who wrote some variations on Irish airs. extraordinary piece of music, really, isn't it? Yeah, we're not sure which member of the family actually owned that copy. It might have been Jane's own copy. Whether she knew that said variations, I'm not sure, but she certainly knew the tune, the song Robin Adair, because as I say, she referred to it in her novel. Now the next song, which Jane calls the song from Burns, is a musical setting that only appears. So this melody only appears in two manuscript versions. One is Jane Austen's, and one is someone else completely unrelated in I think in Cheshire or somewhere. So they didn't know each other as far as we know. But there must have been a print original that they both copied this melody from. I haven't been able to find the melody anywhere else. So if anyone here recognises the melody, please do let me know, because it would be very interesting. I'm not the only person who's been looking for this melody, so you know, we'd be very happy to find out some more about this song from Burns, if we could. There groves of sweet myrtle let foreign lands reckon, where bright beaming summers exalt the perfume. Far dearer to me yon lone glen of green bracken, with the burn stealing under the long yellow broom. Far dearer to me are yon humble broom boughs, where the gowan and bluebell lurk lowly unseen. For there lightly tripping among the wildflowers, listening the linnet oft wanders my Jane. Though rich is the breeze in gay sunny valleys, and cold Caledonia's blast on the wave, the sweet-scented woodlands that skirt the proud palace, what are they, the haunts of the tyrant and slave? The slave's spicy forests and gold-bubbling fountains, the brave Caledonian views with disdain. He wanders as free as the winds on the mountains, save love's willing fetters, the charms of his Jane. Another note is that in Burns's original poem, of course it's about Jean, not Jane. But in both these manuscript versions of this, with this melody, the name is changed to Jane. So Jane Austen didn't make that change by herself. Somebody else, probably some, because there's anglicisation throughout that, the lyrics of that from Burns's version. So it's yes, we're not quite sure why it's changed from Jean to Jane, but makes a good story anyway. So now the Yellow-Haired Laddie, which is probably one of the best known of those songs. It's still something that you hear today. So here we go.
Paint the
along. So the last song is the soldier laddie, a different type of laddie from this yellow-haired lady. So it was. This is one that was set by Haydn in his 1792 set of Scotch songs for George Thompson. This version is probably from Jane Austen's teacher, Anne Corley, so it probably dates from the sort of earlier in the century than that. And yes, so these songs, I can just sort of somehow see Lydia Bennet singing this about George Wickham. That's the sort of thing that I have in my mind about this song.
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, you have just listened to a quite remarkable concert, one which is unique in my own experience, but I bet I'm not alone in having the strong impression, having heard it, that we have been transported back to a drawing room in England, or indeed of Edinburgh, of the early 19th century, and how interesting to hear the words and the music of the songs. How they may have changed and evolved, as folk songs do evolve. They're living things over the years. The song which we heard is there's one that we know from the Burns world, as "Always O'er the Hill, the Eastern Star tells back in time is dear, my joy." That beautiful song. We call it the Lee Rig here in Scotland.
Which one's that?
The first one you sang, it's called My Ain Kind Dearie.
Oh, yeah.
But that's My Ain Kind Dearie appears in the text of the song,
yes,
in the lyric,
yes.
but that's not the title here.
Okay, yes, right.
So there's all sorts of interesting,
yes.
And then also to hear Judith improvising. Again, we're back in the early 19th century, and I was thinking of Vienna and indeed of the Edinburgh of Walter Scott, who was contemporary with Jane Austen, of course,
Yes, yes.
because we know from Scott's journal how much he enjoyed Saturday evenings here in town, listening to improvisations on a theme, just as Judith, as you gave it to us this morning, and in the tradition not just of here but of Europe. The two great improvisers of theme across Europe being, of course, Franz Schubert and Beethoven himself. Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, this presentation is open for observations and questions. So, please. Yes.
Well, thank you, both of you, for this wonderful.
I think you speak a little louder for the those at the back.
Okay. Well, thank you to both Gillian and Judith. We were transported, as you just said, to the 19th century, but also you made it very relevant and enjoyable to us. Two things. One is an observation, one is a little question. Thomas More was also someone, Rabindranath Tagore, the Indian poet,
Oh, yes, yes.
sang from,
Yes.
played the piano with.
Yes.
He was introduced to his melodies when he was staying with the Scott
Yes.
family, Dr. Scott's family in London, and some of the songs that he adapted of his 2,200 songs
Yes.
were from Thomas More,
Yes.
and Banks and Braes is one of them. And also I was thinking Robin Adair was one of them.
Right.
I wish I could sing them in
Okay,
memory.
so neither of those are actually Thomas More songs, but
No, no, but I'm just,
Yes,
Banks and Braes
Yes.
is
So
one
Lost is
from
My-
the repertoire.
Lost is My Quiet is definitely
Mhm.
what we know as
Yeah.
Banks and Braes.
That's right, yeah.
But
Yeah.
and Robin Adair isn't among the Thomas
No,
More's
no.
Irish melodies.
But that's when he was introduced to these songs.
Yes, right.
When he was in London
Yes.
in 1878.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
for me, a lot of these tunes are very familiar, coming from a Bengali Indian background,
Yes, so
where songs really matter.
it's wonderful, isn't it, that these
Yeah.
intercontinental links. Yes.
Yeah. And
You
my
had a
question,
question, I think.
Yes.
the question was, Robert Burns relates an amusing story about his origins.
Yes.
The Lost
Yes.
is My Quiet. Is
Yes.
this the moment to share?
Yes, apparently, I think he was talking to a friend called Mr. He said he was talking to Mr. Clark. I'm not sure who Mr. Clark was, but Mr. Clark said he would like to try writing a Scottish tune.
No.
And Burns said to him, well, all you need to do is go to the piano and play just the black notes. If you just play the black notes, you'll get a Scottish tune. And it works, it really does work. So that's the formula, apparently, for writing a Scottish.
Mr. Clark was an Edinburgh organist
Aha,
in the Episcopal
okay.
tradition.
There you go, thank you, there we
Yes.
are.
Another one to do with Thomas More. Did you find any evidence in your researches about the influence of Edward Bunting, who was a famous collector of Irish melodies? He published dozens of volumes of them. I don't know what he did for the rest of his life, but that took up a huge part of it. I just wondered, because there's the one song there by Thomas Moore, who is obviously a very famous lyricist. Did the name of Bunting come into your research?
Not particularly, but when was Bunting?
It seemed
So
late 18th
Late
century.
18th, yes. So I'm sure that, look, I admit that I haven't, the focus of my research is Austen's music. So what I found that there are 5 Thomas More songs, I think, in Austen's music. So that's among 500 songs. So, I haven't sort of delved into the details of each one, but everything like this is interesting. And there are, I don't know how many volumes of those Irish melodies, at least 9.
Oh, yes.
There's across 25 years or so of publication. And they were obviously building on that very kind of activity of the collector bringing together, codifying the music. And there's a lovely story about Thomas More, that he apparently used to write or conceive of the lyrics by when he was walking. So he would walk and he would be singing the song in his head, and the lyrics would come to him as he walked. So walking was part of the way he would compose the lyrics to these airs. I really like that feeling, that idea that that the movement and it's wonderful.
Any further questions or observations?
It's all right, you don't have to say.
That's exactly what
Yes.
Burns himself did. Not walking, but
Yes.
In an Edinburgh apartment to the harpsichord.
Yes.
He always started with the tune,
The
and then composed the lyric to the air,
Yes.
not the other way round,
Yes,
as
yes, yes.
is more usual.
Yes, yes, that's right. Which comes first?
I don't know what is the origin of the song you were asking us about, but I know who will know.
Yes.
One of our great folk singers called Robin Stapleton, BBC Singer of the Year,
Yes. Yes.
will almost certainly be able to identify,
Okay.
as
right.
will Professor Christine McHugh
Yes.
of
I
Glasgow
met-
University.
I met Christine in Rome
Yes,
a couple of
good.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes,
we'll make a recording of you singing that air, send it to both these ladies, and I'm sure you'll get the answer. Ladies and gentlemen, let us again show our appreciation for a truly remarkable man. Lunch will be served.